we have the ability to be ourselves because we are allowed to be. You know, we're not answering to anybody else. We don't have anybody looking and staring at us and saying, you got to stay in line, or you can't speak out against this, or you can't share your opinion on this. Like, these are times where now we're having the ability to really speak our mind and talk true about the fire service. I think for so long, a lot of times shit was sugar-coated, man. You know, we didn't paint the real picture, or we didn't talk about the issues that I think really were thought-provoking and poked. And, you know, I know when I was a new kid 24 years ago, I mean, I thought it was one way because that's how you're taught and this and that. And then you start to come through the system and you go, whoa, wait a minute. Like, what's this? What's this? What's this? And, you know, that's kind of what stemmed and spurred me to do what we do now is, you know, I think that 18-year-old kid, that 24-year-old kid in a non-proactive department that has every aspiration to being a kick-ass fireman, but his environment's not allowing him to do that. Now more than ever, we can educate him that it's okay to love the job and it's okay to be into it. And it's okay to go after, you know, different ways of instruction and learn the craft. Absolutely.
And we're rolling and recording.
We're rolling. You do your intro. This is your show. I'm hopping on your show.
This is our show. Hey, sure, we get two shows.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay, we'll cut in a new intro, but we'll use all the same content. No problem.
Perfect. There you go.
Sounds good. Thin Red Line Radio Show number 30.
And National Fire Radio.
With Jeremy, the one, the only.
No, let's not go there.
No, we got to edit that out now. We don't edit. No. We just put it out there. Raw video, good, bad, the ugly.
And I'm excited. You know what I'm excited about, John? You know, it's funny. You jest like the one and only, right? Which I think is just ridiculous. I think it has to do with my over-the-top personality. But what I love that's happening, though, we've been doing this for 2 years now, and I just love the amount of content now that's coming out with other personalities and you guys and different podcasts and, you know, different training groups and people that want to start making the fire service better, putting their stamp on it. I love it, man. If we somehow had something to do with that, or we just were maybe one of the first groups to get out there or whatever, I don't know, but I love it, man. I'm happy the way it's going. I think everything's bringing value to the fire service. I really do.
Yeah, I think you guys were the first one to go like all in. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's podcasts before you, but you're a platform, your media, your brand, your live shows.
Trying.
You know, it's awesome. You know, we're happy to be affiliated. We're happy to be on this side of your crew versus the enemy side. You know what I mean? But
the enemy side, I love that.
Well, you know what I mean.
It's a time of war, isn't it?
I do.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
The crazy thing about all of this, right, is like, you know, I mean, I'm pretty, you know, stern and straightforward, and I know what I like, and I know what I like to do and how I want to portray it. And people sometimes get intimidated by that, or sometimes people are rubbed the wrong way about how we go about it, or we're actually bucking the trend of tradition, right? We're putting out content and we're talking about things that maybe weren't once talked about, or sharing our feelings a little bit more and saying, hey, we need to adjust, we need to adapt. I don't know what it is. Some people don't like us or like me for whatever reason. I don't care, man. We stay the course. It's all about putting out content that betters the job. That's it.
So Sean and I have been working on social distancing from day one. So this is nothing new for us. This whole COVID-19, Corona, Chinese virus, whatever you want to call it this week, whatever. But it's definitely a new for us, for our nation, you know, on a grander scheme, what everything is going on with the amount of people losing their jobs, potential for losing their houses.
Yep.
You know, it'll be interesting to see what happens with this government. And Sean and I, just before we recorded a quick podcast, and a buddy of mine that's a police officer, he's also a volunteer fireman, brought up, he goes, listen, if you guys want to discuss something, how about discussing the fact that now everybody's going to start moving back into their houses, into others' houses, because they're losing it. What about the hoarding aspect of toilet paper, of everything else that comes with them? Now, how do you take one house and move it into another without losing everything? What about the people that have already stored their ammunition or their wood pellets or all that stuff, or the guy that's storing gas in his living room?
Yeah.
These are going to be fire service issues we're going to be dealing with for months after the coronavirus goes away.
I think
before it rears its ugly head again in the fall or something.
Yeah, I just heard that tonight. I think that's outrageous. I mean, this whole thing's outrageous, right? But
it's totally.
Here's the thing. 3 weeks ago, I was, we were laughing. We were laughing about it. Like, it's overplayed. It's overblown. I mean, come on. I mean, it's the flu, right? And now here we are. I think where, John, you and I, we were talking about this before we went on air, but, where we are, we're ground zero, man. I mean, we're 10, 15 minutes outside of New York City. I mean, this is ground zero for where it's happening. And
now we are, because traffic's really diminished.
Sure. Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's unbelievable. People,
I normally leave my house at 6 o'clock because I have to in order to get into work for 7.
Sure. Right.
Because I start at 8. I like getting in early. Now
Sure.
I can leave 6:30, maybe 6:45, and still make it to work early now because I can't go in. I can't go in really. They want us waiting just before the bell rings, do our swap out, and that's it, because they don't want us communicating or having that, interaction, because you never know who's bringing it into the firehouse on our days off.
I'm glad you touched on that, because I think that's part of the conversation that we need to go towards tonight. But I want to get back to, the fire service issue. Where I was going with this is because we're ground zero where we are. I mean, we're really seeing the implications of it right now. And there's other parts of the country that really don't understand what's happening here. And they're going to. It's only a few weeks out, and it's the trickle-down effect. It's going to work its way from the major metropolises to the center of the country. I mean, it's only a matter of time. And you're right. The fire services we have to deal with all of that. And from fire-based EMS to the EMS platform to the police officers, everybody's dealing with it on the front lines, but we're dealing with the illness. The trickle-down is going to be what you're talking about, things that are going to start affecting us on the fire ground, how we operate, different types of setups. I mean, you're talking a lot of people potentially could lose their homes, foreclosures, and so on, which will rise in arson, which will create derelict conditions, which will create dilapidated properties, which will, the list goes on and on. So it absolutely is a trickle down.
Poverty equals fire, unfortunately. Yeah. And there's been a study. I'm not being racist or prejudiced or anything else, but there's an actual study out there from the NFA and the USFA that poverty and fire, they coincide hand in hand with the amounts of occurrences.
Yeah, I don't need a study to tell me that. I just need common sense to tell me that, right? I mean,
and the analytic at times.
Yeah. It's one of those things, and we're going to be dealing with the repercussions of this for a long time to come. And frankly, this coronavirus, it's the implications and what it's going to do to us as a fire service is concerning too. And I'm not just talking about operating conditions, but I'm talking about the fact that when you report to work now, John, you're not even allowed to talk to the shift before you. You're not even allowed to shake hands, high five, slap each other on the back.
It's definitely a different change. They want us social distancing. I'm a big guy, and you know what? I missed out on talking with Pip on his show, The Size Up.
Yeah.
And that sucks because I do, not to say I size guys up every morning, but I talk to them. I want to know how their 3 days off were, and I want to know how their family's doing. We had a lot of guys with like new babies or 1-year-olds. So I want to see how they're doing, especially in this time. And, the pat on the back or, hey, how you doing is now like, hey, we're elbowing. Now we can't even elbow. It was a fist bump. It was a shake. It was, some guys hug longer than others, but that's other shifts.
It's difficult to decide too, like new kid this morning, yesterday I go into work and a new kid sitting at the table. I recognize the face. I don't know who he is. And he's like, hey, Cap, how you doing? And I'm like, hey, brother, what's up? I can't shake his hand. I can't, we just Monday started putting in the guidelines. Everybody enters and exits through the same door. You get you're not, we don't have thermometers, but do the health check on the way in. Hey, are you feeling sick? I got any, my thumb smells bad. I can't get that smell out of my thumb for nothing, Jerry. No matter how much I wash my hand, the rookie's like, Cap, you didn't do this to anybody else. No, but
stop coughing, or else we're sending you to the hospital.
I've been washing my hands.
I'll tell you about the cough in a minute, man. But yeah. Let me ask you, you guys going out training?
Oh, it's hard. We did not yesterday, but we have been up until yesterday. And yesterday, I think for me, anyways, it was a lot of the unknown. There's a lot of paperwork involved. Now we started this new process where people can go out go out on administrative leave if they're feeling like they have symptoms. So a lot of people took advantage. I said it to my wife. I said, we were slow yesterday, all things considered, and I'm exhausted because of, the paperwork, and the Chiefs over for 2 hours, and you're extra cleaning of the house, and we get fuel. We can't shop for the meals now because the stores are freaked out about us being in there in our gear, and and a lot of it for those of us in this is our biz. It's tough for us to be concerned because, like you said, it's a serious illness, but let's face it, there's worse. And but we're at supermarkets and people are like, oh, you shouldn't be in here with your gear on, or you shouldn't be in here and it's hard. So
we've changed our protocols.
Right.
There's a new protocol coming out almost every day, and I'm not slamming or putting anybody down about that, but because we're learning about this thing every day. So it's evolving. So we just came up with a new procedure for shift change. But before, we were only sending one guy to the store to buy dinner. We'd reduce whatever, we go have the fourth man on the engine or whatever. We'd send him to go get what he got, and he came back. And now we had our first potential positive, and we created this decon corridor to get the guys back in after doing their EMR run, so they didn't bring anything into the station, into the living quarters.
Yeah.
So, and that's on paper now. So it's like you said, Sean, it's really stressful at work because things are changing and we're responsible. You're a house captain. I'm a house captain. We're responsible for our guys, not just our company, but our house. I got 2 engines in a truck. So
for
me,
go ahead, John.
There's 10 to 12 other individuals, and then you add probably 3 to 4 times that as well, because when they go home, we got one kid that's like 19. It's great. He's like, oh, I go home to mom. I'm like, man, to be
Sean,
19 on the job, right?
Grace is making.
She makes the best cookies.
Nice. That's fantastic.
I had to brave it out at the supermarket today to get the brown sugar, so I better get a cookie.
Oh, are you dealing with crowds now at the supermarket? See, we're past that already. We're past that now.
The toilet paper, right?
Yeah.
The hoarding thing.
I want to know where all the toilet paper went.
I got
my tactical reserve over here.
Let me ask you this, right? And all the ice storms, snowstorms, hurricanes,
never happens.
I go for power without 9 days sometimes, right? I mean, I think the longest was
Sandy,
that October
right?
Snowstorm a couple of years. No, not even Sandy. It was that October snowstorm. Took down all the trees. I didn't have power for like 12 days, and I live in a suburban town. Like, it's unheard of not to have power for 12 days, right? It was outrageous.
Yep.
I never ran out of toilet. When did toilet paper become a thing?
Because
people
with
that could use it as a
coronavirus,
commodity and trade it.
One person coughs and 100 shit their pants. That's what the problem is.
Oh, you stole that from a meme. Come on.
That's good. I don't care, man. Take it. I like that. But John, I wanted to hit on what you guys were talking about too, because I just want to put it in light to the volunteer fire service for a minute too, right? Because there are primarily, the fire service is made up of both the career and volunteer, and on the volunteer side, man, it's really affecting volunteer houses where members aren't allowed to be there except for call response.
Yeah,
trainings are canceled. Meetings are canceled. The camaraderie is starting to disappear, right? And the problem is like, if this thing goes for 60, 90, 120, 150 days, right? You start taking people out of that environment, they start to lose the connection. They start to lose that camaraderie, right? I mean, like, I have my core group of guys, but at the firehouse, I got 40 guys there. You know what I mean? And so, guys that I don't talk to daily when I see them at the firehouse, still like a great opportunity to chat and share the brotherhood and camaraderie, right? But now you take everybody out of that element. The town's so worried about it. Our chiefs have policies that come down now. Single engine company for investigation, everybody else stages, 4-man engine company, 4-man truck company now, nobody else on the, all these different things. But
2 in, everybody else out.
I personally think that this could greatly affect our service down the road. I think that it can affect the fire service as we know it if it lasts too long, because we're over policing ourselves. And I know we have to provide protection. I know we have to offer all of our members, whether career or volunteer, the protection of, from this virus. I get that. But we have to be careful of walking that fine balance of how detrimental is it to everything else.
You're right. And you know what,
Exactly
Jeremy,
right.
when we talked
Cheers to you.
a couple weeks ago, I got my father still riding, and he's the chauffeur. My dad's
Absolutely.
70.
I met your father. Wonderful man. Wonderful man.
And he's still doing it. He's driving. I think that helps him a little bit, which I'm glad. But he's not going in, and it says it attacks the older population.
But he's still putting himself at risk, right? Instead of being home quarantined,
exactly,
out providing a service to his town.
It's still scary.
It's probably done for 50-something years.
Oh my God, forever.
And,
ever since I've been born. So
but John,
before that,
John, you grew up in a volley system. Like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when we remove everybody from the firehouse? We don't make the firehouse a sense of community anymore.
You want to get real? You want to hear it straight out? What happens when somebody in the volunteer service gets sick? What kind of insurance are they going to pay? What kind of workman's comp is out there?
We're told we're covered by workman's comp. That's what.
You ever look at see what happens, what you're covered by? And I'm not being you got to look at your policies.
I'm not the guy to answer that question by any means.
I understand that, but it's definitely an interesting thing. I got hurt as a volunteer, and I used my sick time at work because they're saying you can't double dip. I didn't take my workman's comp pay from my volley side. I used my sick time.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to.
Is your city self-insured?
You start looking at how much they actually pay out.
Right.
It's not for what we do as a profession. It is criminal what they pay.
Sure. I don't think.
And that's going to be another issue down the line, I believe.
But
Go ahead.
No.
Well, the other thing with is the call screening. Like, we're going on noticeably fewer calls.
Right.
And it's strange. And you'd think with everybody home together, the domestics would be up, the shootings would be up, the fires would be up, the food on the stoves would be up. I'm serious. And to say nothing of the fact that you're frequent flyers. And now, do they go back? And what happens to call volumes on the career side, where all of a sudden you're like, hey, you went from 35,000 calls last year down to 26 because they eliminated all the, my nose is bleeding. And like, that's the strangest thing for me is that, we had one run yesterday in the 24-hour shift on my truck, and that's unheard of.
Yeah,
that's unheard of.
Wow.
One. And
that's definitely crazy.
And it's
I wonder why you were tired.
I was tired. My brain was tired from pre-planning this podcast.
We're constantly checking the speaker to make sure it was plugged.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. I got a bum elbow from reaching up to turn the volume up.
Guys, we're not missing anything, right? Like,
are you sure?
Someone's got the radio on, right?
Yeah, right. That's funny.
My thumb was exhausted. Washing.
You keep going back to that. Do you enjoy that?
Thank
God you guys are only
the captain's got to take care of his men. Yeah.
Is that ongoing and off-going, or just the oncoming shift?
Twice a day, bro. 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. It was a little gross after dinner.
Gnarly.
All right.
I don't know. Coronavirus. I mean, we could beat this thing to death, but I mean, I don't know.
What do you want to talk about besides this coronavirus and where we're gonna land with both of our feet?
So this morning I did a little recon on the way into work this morning. I listened to your last podcast, or at least the first 20 minutes of it. Just do a little recon, catch up with the fellows over at Thin Red Line. The one big word that you threw out, culture. I love it. We talk about that National Fire Radio. It's all about tradition and culture, right? And culture fuels tradition, and tradition fuels culture. I think it's important to have that conversation. I always enjoy talking about that. Originally, I think we should say too, you guys were scheduled to be on our show, last night, I think, in our studio.
Yep.
And then,
2 days
this whole thing went defunct, and now we're scrambling, rescheduling all the interviews and people we're supposed to be meeting with. But, this gives us the opportunity to connect. And so this is great. But, we always like to capture stories. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are friends and people that have known you, but you've also, you guys are doing a fantastic job. So you're attracting a lot of new listeners that probably don't know a lot about each of you. I don't know how often you guys talk about yourselves more than, fire service issues and in general. But I think what you guys need to do a little bit is talk about yourselves. I think it's important. And I know a lot of guys get weirded out by that. And they're, oh, it's not about me. We're just doing this because we enjoy it and we want to talk about the fire service. And I get that. But I think it's important, too, to understand some stories. I mean, Sean, you and I met a while back. We connected. You were a huge help when we did our On Tap up in Buffalo, which was – I didn't even look back. When was that?
It was in June.
June of last year.
Yeah, we set it up in Indy. We talked about it. We talked about it at FDIC and followed up when he got back. I want to say it was like June 24th last year.
I think you're absolutely right. Now that you say that, I think that was the day. But what a great event! What a great opportunity. We had Bobby Eckert come up and speak. The venue was fantastic. You knocked that one out of the park, brother. Thank you. But your help in putting all that together was instrumental, and I think that speaks volumes about who you are and what you enjoy about the fire service. I mean, you didn't know us, and we chatted, and next thing you know, you're helping us put together a program that I think was very successful, and I'm looking forward to getting back up there again. I love the venue. I mean, you guys ever want to do something, Thin Red Line and National Fire Radio, man, I would hop on that in a second.
I know they'd have us back. They had a great night. The restaurant did well. The guys did. The people that were there enjoyed it, and I think that was its infancy for you all. It was your second event, so it was, now that you see these are becoming the norm, right? Like the fireman walks into a bar, all that stuff, and I think, but that's it though. Like you said, Bobby's talking, and every time he mentioned me, I'm stuffing food down my throat because I'd been with him all afternoon. And of course, like, look at the fat guy eating a wing again. Oh, there's Bobby, weighs 64 pounds, soaking wet. And he's like, look at the fat guy eating a wing again. But I mean, I had people there from,
it's a crime.
The best part about it was, I told you, is like we were in the process of the clap series for the BFD. Yeah. So I had my brothers from Rochester, New York, from FDNY up there. And I said, listen, fellas, come on in, sit down, have some wings, drink some beers, and listen to this guy. And they came in. So they're sitting there and like, wow, this is awesome. So now guess what? I know a friend of mine reached out to you guys about maybe doing one up Rochester way. And that's all. And that's what it's all about. Like, it's the good message. And someday, hopefully I can reciprocate and I can come to my class I'm working on now with, for you guys sometime. And but it was awesome. And there was nothing to it. It was like, that's what I like about firemen. It's like, we have a job. Jeremy, here's what we need. Okay, go. And then Rob came down to one day. I'm like, does this place work for you? He's like, perfect. I'm like, sweet. Okay, cool. Done. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think too, I think the most important thing out of all of it, and I think why we're seeing a lot of these type of programs popping up across the board, is you're getting more and more popularity with them because it's less stuffy. It's not the traditional classroom setting. It's the ability to allow to be yourself. Even with this, right? Even with Thin Red Line and National Fire Radio and the other platforms that are out there now, we have the ability to be ourselves because we are allowed to be. We're not answering to anybody else. We don't have anybody looking and staring at us and saying, you got to stay in line, or you can't speak out against this, or you can't share your opinion on this. Like, these are times where now we're having the ability to really speak our mind and talk true about the fire service. I think for so long, a lot of times shit was sugar-coated, man. We didn't paint the real picture, or we didn't talk about the issues that I think really were thought-provoking and poked. And, I know when I was a new kid 24 years ago, I mean, I thought it was one way because that's how you're taught and this and that. And then you start to come through the system and you go, whoa, wait a minute. Like, what's this? And, that's kind of what stemmed and spurred me to do what we do now is, I think that 18-year-old kid, that 24-year-old kid in a non-proactive department that has every aspiration to being a kick-ass fireman, but his environment's not allowing him to do that. Now more than ever, we can educate him that it's okay to love the job and it's okay to be into it. And it's okay to go after, different ways of instruction and learn the craft.
Absolutely.
That's one of the big things.
And it's a lot less, like you mentioned, it's a lot less formal, a lot easier. There's no, there's the Buffalo guys, there's these guys. It's just a bunch of dudes in a room, who cares what's on your shirt.
And that's, what I advocate for that with our younger guys, to understand, to get outside of their, I'll use my 3.2 square miles to understand what else is out there in the fire service. Get to know other people. It's, Sean and I talked before Sean and I really met. a couple of years ago, we talked and, we're on the same social media circles and stuff like that. And then when we met in FDIC, we clicked, and then boom, it just started from there. And getting out to these small conferences or these large conferences and listening to the different media that's out there, whether it's National Fire Radio, whether it's Rush the Bus for the EMS guys, the Size Up, Thin Red Line, Jump Seat Radio.
Promoting all our stuff, man. That's fantastic, John. Keep it going.
Oh, it's $10 every time we say something.
Yeah, it's okay. We're gonna charge you. Don't worry about it. The bill comes at the end. And but we have, you got Jump Seat. We've got so many different podcast venues out there that you just throw it out there. Say, hey, what clicks for you? Whether it's our friends at Do Work or Robbie Owens from Average Jake Firefighter. There's just somebody's got a different spin on the fire service because there's just so many different ways. Sean and I are both instructors. So there's probably 5 to 7 different ways to tie a knot.
Sure.
My way of teaching you might not resonate with you. It might not click. But Sean comes over and goes, try it this way. And the light bulb goes on. And we're like, holy shit, I got it. Kid, you got it. Now you got to learn the other way that I was teaching you in case you can't do it that way.
Yeah, what I like to think, it's like an ice cream store, right? Sometimes you want vanilla, sometimes you want chocolate, sometimes you want coffee, mint chocolate chip, whatever, right? What the fire service today is offering is several different flavors. Go find the one you want at the time you want it. Right? Like there's days that I want to hear some hard hitting shit and I'm going to go find those guys. There's other days I want to hear, some laid back stuff, or I want to check out truck stuff or engine stuff, or I want the extrication guru to talk to me, or I just want to hear about tradition and culture. I just want to hear some old stories from some hard hitting firemen from the 60s and 70s. We now more than ever in the fire service have the ability through so many different channels now to put out every single type of flavor that represents every single type of fireman. And that's what I love about this, right? Now more than ever, years and years ago, there were only a few platforms, and it's either you subscribed or you didn't. And if you didn't care for it, then you weren't subscribed to anything. Now you have the ability to like something, not like this, try this, don't try that. I love that, man. I absolutely love that.
And you know what? As much as people, I don't see it as competition as
I don't know.
Industry would. We all better each other. Does that make sense? Like,
of course.
Like our podcast might not be what what you guys do or what somebody else, and which is perfect because we all complement each other.
I think when you're doing it for the right reasons, it works. And the people that get bent, or the people that get hurt feelings, are the ones that have something else going on, that they're not being 100% authentic and true to what their word is. And I think I think you have to be in it for the right reasons. And like anything, right? Like anything, there's shitbags in every industry, whether it's the fire service, whether you're a garbage man, you're a banker, it doesn't matter, right? We have guys that do it on the up and up, and we have guys that don't. And we're no different from any other industry. So, there are going to be people that are going to stir the pot. There are going to be people that take offense to anything you say. I mean, shit, you have no idea how much hate mail I get, and, websites dedicated to us.
Send it over. I'll reply.
That's ridiculous. It's not even worth the time, because when you do look at it and you vet these people of who these people are, they're not even somebody I would, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Definitely not crawl a hallway with.
I crawl a hallway. I wouldn't even hold the door open for him at a store. You know what I mean? Like
it's jealousy, bro.
A lot of it's jealousy, man.
You put yourself out there and you face it. That's what the deal is.
That's it. But I think that's an important lesson too, though, Sean, right? It's like, if you're willing to sign up and do this, even yourselves, I'm sure you guys have some criticism out there, and I'm sure there's people that probably don't like everything you have to say or judge you based on what's being said in a 5-second clip. But at the end of the day, man, like, I hold my head high and I sleep well at night.
Yeah, me too. And
every piece of content we put out, I stand behind, and it's ours, and I own it. I own everything we do.
I tell you, we don't always do it right in my job, in my department, but we're pretty fucking good at it,
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I mean, we go to fires and we're busy, and every single day I listen to you, I listen to John and my knit group of guys,
sure,
so I can get better, and That's what it's all about.
But let me ask you, are there certain days you want to hear certain podcasts, right? Are there certain days that you want to digest?
For sure.
And that's what I was talking about before, that whole analogy with the ice cream store. And I think now more than ever, man, that is just a great thing to have in the fire service, where, you know, a kid from anywhere can find anything he's looking for. I love it.
Yeah. And that, you're right. You actually create, depending on what platform you use, you know, you can create channels. You know, I have a life and leadership channel. I have a fire service channel, and I have, you know, whatever. It's all the channels I'm gonna tell you two about, but that's, you know,
I understand.
No, but you know, in the same, like you said, if I got a 20-minute drive to work, I don't want to get 20 minutes into an hour-long episode or an hour-and-a-half long episode with you of your show, Jeremy, because I know when I get to the station, I'm not gonna be able to sit down and digest the rest of it. But
I'm flat.
So
it's the
so
guess.
I'm saved that for, you know what I'm saying? I save that for
the longer ride,
working out, or I'm cutting the grass, or I'm doing whatever, where I'm just sitting around the house. But yeah, it's definitely, you know, there's no two. In my podcast list is embarrassing, actually. Like,
but I think there's a point that you got to figure out. You got to vet who you're listening to.
I agree.
Because who are you listening to? You know, with Sean and I have 20 plus years in the fire service, and just putting it out there. But you may have a podcast that have guys that have 2 months in the fire service, and they're talking about their aspects in the fire service, and they're spot on. But you got to vet and figure out what they're talking about. Now, nothing that Sean and I have talked about is outside our wheelhouse that we haven't handled over 500, 1,000 times.
I get it.
Unless you have that low risk, high frequency event, and I'm like, holy shit, Sean, I got to talk to you about this because we had this. And he goes, stop, we got to record this.
Yeah, which we do a lot. You know,
I think, you know, a lot of it goes to too. I mean, vetting is, and I talk about this consistently, and this is something about what we do, right? We stay in our lane. I mean, I'll bring in guests that can talk about firefighting and tactics and, you know, things like that. Because listen, I mean, I've been doing this a long time myself, but I don't come from a city that's boasting fires every single day. And so, you know, and so on. So I bring in people to round out what we talk about to make sure that if we're going to talk about a subject, we have people there that can represent it and back it up, right? What I can back up very easily is tradition and culture and everything I love about the fire service. And that's why we stay in our lane, right? I mean, there are people that are going to step outside their lane. There are going to be those kids that have a couple of years in that know it all and have seen it all, and they're going to go out there and promote what they know. Or they're even worse, they're going to go out and promote Sean and John's class that they took once or twice, and then they're going to go promote it, right? I get that, right?
Of course.
That's just the fact of life, right? So what we have to do is educate the listener and say, listen, you really need to vet this, right? And shitbags are going to follow shitbags. And so there's always going to be a platform for the guy in the firehouse that is not the go-getter. There's always going to be a platform for the naysayer and the back row guy that has everything to say that's negative and not building up the culture of the firehouse. That's just fact. So they're going to have their platform, but you do have to educate and say, take it from where it comes from. Listen to the message and judge for yourself. It's the same with training techniques. You can go on YouTube and see how to stretch a line 10 different ways in 15 minutes. And you're just going to randomly pick one and go and do it. Vet it, try it, drill on it, train on it. See if it works, you know?
Yeah, the YouTube fire departments are killing the fire service, you know. But like you said, you especially when you get on YouTube, we talk about that a lot. We in Buffalo, we run pre-connects. All our hand lines are pre-connects, and you know, some guys hate them, some guys love them. That's all I know, and I know that there's better ways. Yeah, we do. And because of my education, because of running with people that don't do pre-connects, I know that there's other options that we have that can work. And I have these conversations. Matter of fact, I spent about 2 hours with my chief yesterday talking about like, hey, you know, maybe we need to start thinking about trying a different, you know, way of loading hose, or trying this or trying that, getting away from the pre-connects. But for the most part, it's well, we've always done it that way, which we all know is the wrong attitude to have. But
of course,
you know, we run 4, 5, and 6 length pre-connects on all of our pumpers. And
so, Sean,
we
you
put
got
out
that.
Fires.
You got that, and you guys go to tons of fires. So for us, our engine companies, I'm going to say 80 to 75 to 80%, our guys are pulling off the rear. And I don't think it's because of our proximity to the big four across the river. It's just what we've got and the number of stories that we have. Our 3, 4, 5-story walk-ups that we're dealing with and the setbacks that we may have. We've got a lot of setbacks and long stretches. We're definitely not like Kentland where they're doing the
150
3/4, the inch and 3/4, 8 length, and I'm not slamming them because it works for them, which is cool. But we just had a bullshit fire, ceiling fixture, and the guy pulled 7 lengths just because we had extra in the street because it was a deep house. I need the blessing as much as possible, but Sean, you're okay.
Bless you.
Thank you. My father beat your father at Domino's. Sean, you got to go to the doctor now. Big
Quarantine.
thumbs. So,
John, you're absolutely right, man. I think it's so important that people understand that, Buffalo does it their way. John, your department does it your way. I do it my way, right? And it works for us because it's tried and true methodology of what's in it. Now, you can't be closed-minded not to try something different, right? Absolutely. And there's different ways, right? And things, that's the other good thing, right? We always talk about the negative. Let's talk about the positive of YouTube or positive of social media.
Oh, absolutely.
Is the upside is we now have the ability more than ever to see new tips, tricks, and hacks. And that's another big part of what we do is we try to share that message across the board so that somebody in Kentucky knows how somebody in New Jersey, how somebody in Chicago and Connecticut do it. You know what I mean? And we now have the ability to do that. So why aren't we sharing the methodology, the tried and true methodology of all these departments across the country and then digest what works for you? Plain and simple.
And I think when you start running in our circles like we do, where you're not just, I'm going to listen. We sat at the Labatt's joint, we drank and had lunch, and I had your group, and I had Rob, and we had Seabass, and we had Tucker, and we had Bobby, and we're all sitting around breaking bread, having a few beers, having lunch. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's a great idea. I'm going to have to think about that. John, when we're in down with the Next Run guys talking about your crazy thing you guys do in Jersey with the 610s or the 10-6s, whatever they're called, with the 2.5s and the
10-7 stretch with from Turpac, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. To me, that's like, wait, what? But it makes sense. And now every time I'm like, oh, that would work here in this situation right here. That might work for me. Right. You start talking about things like well hole stretches for my guys, and they might as well be speaking a foreign language. But guess what? We have buildings that would totally be the best tactic to handle. And but for those of us, and I think more and more of Jeremy, your platform and what we're doing in our group, you're getting people to say, hey, it's okay to think outside the box. It's okay to,
you need to,
my guys that I meet from Florida, from Jersey, from South Carolina, these guys all know, they all put out fires too. And hey, what works for them, let's try it. Maybe it will work.
We joke about it all the time, and I especially do, right? Because National Fire Radio was really my brainchild, and I brought in a couple guys to support me and run with it and help with the personality end and the back end stuff and so on. But this thing has turned into an incredible operation because I get to do what I've always wanted to do. I get to walk into every single firehouse I see. I get to go see everybody's truck and equipment and meet guys and shake hands and get stories now, only because we started a platform that really is interested in shining a light on that. And so for me, man, this is like a dream come true in a way that we were able to build this thing. And now it's like, I can go across the country and swing through, I'm on vacation instead of just looking in the firehouse windows, right? Like, oh, what do they got in there? Now I just knock on the door,
Hey, you know who I am? Yeah. You get the little Jersey attitude?
We're not there yet.
It's funny that I was just laughing at myself because I called Sebi Seabass.
You did.
I had a Dumb and Dumber moment.
Yeah, but I like Seabass. Wine 'em, dine 'em, 69. I know. It's Camp Neely's hat.
I'm like Seabass.
Are we allowed to say that on your show? I mean, we could say
it's your show. Yeah, it's your show. It's our show. It's
No, all right.
All good.
I don't know what your listenership's like. I mean, I don't know if
we don't have the 5-year-olds
listening. We don't either.
We don't. Sean keeps that under wraps. I don't understand it.
Is that what it is?
There might be a 5-year-old over in some small country.
It happens.
I heard the guy that caused coronavirus is one of our listeners.
Yeah, he was eating the bat. and listen to our show.
Pangolins, what are they called? Pangolins or pangolins?
Is that true, by the way?
Penguins? What?
The
No, that's
pangolins,
Antarctica.
No, those anteater looking things that.
Sean, what are you
Anyways,
watching?
Forget it.
National Geographic again. I fell asleep with that on Hulu. It was bad.
But
so wake up with snakes and stuff.
Jeremy. Like it's the tradition. Like you're getting back to your stuff, Jeremy, with your firehouse visits culture. And your different your cultures and your equipment. Those are cool, right? Nowadays, like I saw people that are doing live firehouse tours on Facebook Live to take 10 minutes, show your kids. Like I'm thinking about doing it tomorrow, but I might have to, hide all the pictures in the weight room or whatever, but you know how that goes.
Don't go in the weight room, Sean.
Yeah, but
this is the easy part.
Yeah, right. Back there's the weight room. I've never been in there. I don't know what it looks like, but like how cool is that? Like, hey, at 9:00, Truck 7 is going live on Facebook. So,
what kind of red tape you got to cut for that?
I don't know.
Easier to get forgiveness and permission.
No, I live by that.
Yeah, like
that's sort of my motto.
Yeah, as long as I don't show him and say
we are not Buffalo Fire Department.
Right. Just as long as I don't say that. Oh, look at this piece of junk reserve truck I'm driving or whatever. But you know what I mean? Like, how cool is that in your videos, Jeremy? Where like, hey, this is the the latest and greatest, the newest innovation. Like those.
I'll tell you right now, the training tower thing is phenomenal. I wish I had the money to buy that.
Well, the affordable drill tower. Yeah, we'll talk about that because there's opportunity there. No, I'm serious though. Steve Sanguidoce, who is the president of Affordable.
How do you say that?
Sanguidoce. He's become a good friend, and we've done a couple training events with him, and he does it right. He surrounds himself with a cadre of really just great instructors who promote the product through showing the hands-on approach of the product, right? So it's one thing to sit there and just talk about it. It's another thing to put it through its paces with some of the best instructors in the market and let them operate that tower to show it off. It is cool, and there's a lot of variables to it, and it's a great piece of training equipment. But it's things like that have to be shared. I mean, I know that's a company, it's a private company, but it's a product that's out there. And if we can help them get the message out, because getting that product out there, in fact, will make the fire service better. It could potentially help a rural department in Iowa have a training facility that can't afford one right now, but because it's less expensive than brick and mortar, and we have the ability and the platform to show it off for them, right? Or put it out in the channels where the attention is, that's a win. And they might get the sale in that department, but the bigger win, it's not the sale. The bigger win is that department now has a training facility to better their people. That's the win. That's
amazing.
It's you know what, I'm gonna go off on something else, and we'll throw a bone. Northern Star Fire Compass. Yeah. Sean and I both have them. I listened to an interview with him on the guys from Do Work podcast, and dude, he had me looking it up and researching it. And Sean bought one, and I bought one out at FDIC. It's still in my mask. I think it's one of the greatest things that's out there for the fire service. And but I wouldn't have been exposed to that unless I listened to a podcast that brought that up. So you're bringing to light a training facility that's affordable.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that just betters the fire service. Again, what's our goal once we hang up our boots or our coat? Is to have hopefully made an impact on the fire service and made it better than we found it.
Yeah, leave it better than you found it. Absolutely.
I think, for me, I still get, giddy when I find something, I come across something and I go, man, this is cool. And I'm like a little kid, and I get excited over it, and I'm like, we got to shoot this. And you can ask my guys, like, whether we're at a factory or we're out in the field at somebody's firehouse, when we come across a couple of those little nuggets and you're like, oh, I know this is going to get attention. This is one of those things that everybody wants to know about, but nobody knows about. Oh, I get so excited, man. And the fact that we've been able to build a platform that can allow for that. I mean, we're not big by any means, but we have enough market share now where people understand who we are and they follow us because of our original content and the type of content we put out. So if we have the ability to find one of those or two of those nuggets every once in a while to really put out there, oh my God, man. it's doing it. That's why I sleep well at night. That's why I'm proud of what we do. You know, it's at the end of the day, are we making a difference? Yeah, I like to think we are. You know, I like to think that we're bringing forth something a little bit different that I think this job needs. So, and you guys,
it had to be cool. Like, you know, you have reach because, you know, I'm looking at your page now. So, you know, 20 some thousand followers, and that's cool.
No, that's Facebook. Great. We almost stopped posting on Facebook.
I know you're Instagramming it up, but I'm just saying, like, so John, I don't know if you even told, we're at one of Gracie's softball tournaments over the summer, and I'm watching this guy. I see this guy walking. I'm like, oh, that shirt looks familiar. And so I creep photoed him. I took a creepy photo, and he had jorts, which was weird.
That's hot.
Cut off jean shorts.
Yeah, they're coming back in, Sean.
Are they?
With the threads hanging down?
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Like Daisy Dukes for guys? Come on, Sean.
Dude, he had
What's going on in
jorts.
Buffalo?
The jorts. He had a dart hanging out of his mouth.
Here we go.
And he had his Tiller Time shirt.
Hell yeah, like, brother. Hell
so I text Rob and Jeremy, and I'm like, oh, look in the wild. In his natural environment.
At least his whale tail wasn't hanging out in the back. You know?
I didn't look in the back, bro. I turned and I walked. Boop. I'm like, cool photo.
Oh my Listen, God. You know what?
That's great, dude.
The shirt was walking the soccer field. What was that guy doing on the soccer field? Let's talk about that, right?
I'm hoping his daughter. Well, believe me, I had my eye on him the rest of the
day. Sean was creeping this guy who was creeping.
Yeah.
How many creeps was that? That's a math question right there for you.
It's interesting, man. It's interesting. I'm enjoying every single minute of it. I'm kind of suffering right now, man. I'm going through. If you haven't noticed, I'm a kind of an outgoing guy, so you know I'm constantly on the go and getting involved in things. And this whole coronavirus, right, just bring it back around a little bit. I'm kind of like bummed out right now, man. This has made us. I think this time for the fire service, we were talking about it before, and just bringing it back a little bit. Now is a unique time. I'm running out of content. I have all these interviews and departmental visits I was supposed to be doing right now and shooting content for different manufacturers. I was supposed to be at FDIC. Let's talk about FDIC for a minute.
Did they make a decision? Is it going to be April or is it going to, September or is it April 2021?
I haven't
just
heard
sent out they sent out to like, I got a
questionnaire, right?
The instructors all got a questionnaire yesterday or 2 days ago. And it's tough, man. Like, you know,
what do you do?
I truthfully, as hard as it is, I chose to just kick it off until next April. But
I think they're going to have to, personally,
especially if
you can't get Lucas Oil Stadium. It's football.
Yeah, there's
football
so
season.
Much. Well, and that's the other thing. Like you've been there on Friday, John. I think last year we're sitting there on Friday morning and like wrapping up, waiting to go to the airport, and dudes are like peeling the FDIC, they're peeling the MSA stickers off and slapping down Indy 500 stickers. Like that's how fast it is.
And the Indy 500 just pushed off too.
Yeah, but
they just postponed.
I mean, I hate to do it, and I hope
I don't foresee it happening. I don't. I think a lot of these conferences. I think the interesting one is going to be that Inner Schultz in October.
Yeah.
Well, the one before that is going to be Firehouse.
Yeah.
In July. It's the end of July. That's right on the cusp.
They sent out yesterday that they're so far haven't made any decisions. They're going to keep it going, which means you better get working on our PowerPoint, John.
Why me?
You're us. So good at it. You're so good at it.
I'm so good at it. Stop
brown nose command.
Managing everyday incidents we're doing.
Sorry, I didn't have the right lingo there.
Managing everyday incidents. It's the simple stuff, which is
cool.
Not so simple,
It's the coronavirus.
Yeah, that's definitely not everyday incidents.
But you know what I'm saying? Like the
water, electrical problems,
water leaks, CO alarms,
COs, all that good
water
stuff.
in a basement, utility emergencies, all that bullshit.
Yeah, but the problem is who's teaching that bullshit? They're not touching on it in Fire 1, and all you're getting is OJT on that.
OTJ, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. And I mean, so many are canceled. They just announced yesterday that Art of Firemanship Days is canceled in May, and I was really bummed about that. That was going to be my first gig working with Bobby and his crew. He picked me up to be on his cadre after getting to know him down there, and it's done. I'm bummed. Like I was psyched about that.
That's a cool little conference too, man.
Oh yeah.
I was actually probably going to drive out and creep on your class.
Well, you could pay and take it.
What? Yes, of course I would.
No, but I mean, seriously, you know, like you think, forget about the economic impact on the world, but look at the guys are starved for information. Like this is what we're talking about, doing stuff like this, doing our little online program that we're doing next weekend, because
Yeah, when
it's
do you think this is
it's the
going to
kitchen
air there,
table that
Jeremy?
you can't get on the kitchen table, you know.
Well,
When are you gonna push this out?
when do you want to push it out?
I don't know. We got the Firehouse Kitchen Table conference coming out the 3rd and the 4th of April.
Okay, we'll get it out before that. Absolutely. I mean, what? So that's online registration, right?
Online registration through
Talk about
Eventbrite.
it. Talk about it a little bit. I don't know.
Right, Sean, you want me to run with it or you want it?
Go ahead.
So we got a 2-day Firehouse Kitchen Table. So a little background: Firehouse Kitchen Table is actually about 12 firefighters from throughout the United States that have become a really tight, intricate group that I know I can call any one of them at 2:00 in the morning and say, I got a problem, or, hey, I got this. And they'll answer, B, they'll give me an answer or help me out. So this group was formed probably about 3 to 5 years ago. We've added a couple people to it, and we haven't expanded past that. There has been additional groups that have formed in our likelihood. But we decided, with everything going on, that we wanted to do a Firehouse Kitchen Table conference online, a virtual conference.
Right.
And we're charging $10 a day. We're doing April 3rd and April 4th. So April 3rd, you pay the $10, you get 3 classes, and we're going to be doing a panel discussion with at least 10 of us that are going to be on it, 10 to 11 of us.
Are they live?
It's going to be live on Zoom. So the first class is actually Ryan Pennington kicking it off, doing his hoarding class. Then Sean and Chief Lightly from Youngstown, Ohio.
I don't know if you're
doing a class called
Have not.
You Need to Meet him.
He's a great dude.
John's
I think
John's a sharp dude.
You probably did meet him quickly last year at FDIC when we were hanging out that little bit. He was with us a lot, but really good dude. So him and I have been working on a program called Vacants, Vagrants, and Fire. You know, like talking about every community, no matter how rich or poor, has vacant houses. You know, they're not vacant till we deem them vacant, and it's kind of, you know, it's the typical fireman's class, right? Like it's a lot of cool houses, a lot of houses that are kind of screwed up that like, whoa, but this is the shit we go into, right? At 2 in the morning. Right. If we're not out, you know, you just did a thing with Brian Butler he says, hey, get out your district, learn your district, learn your houses. You know, me and Bobby, when Bobby was in Buffalo, he's like, dude, we're going into this house. You guys
left lunch and you went out and bumped.
We scouted vacants,
looking
man.
At the neighborhoods.
He's like, but that's how you get to know them. And so that's the class. It's like it's about fighting fires in vacant houses. And we in Buffalo don't have a different SOP for them a lot. In Youngstown, sometimes they'll just let them burn. They'll leave a pumper there and they'll decide that chief makes the call, they're going to burn it. Well, we don't do that, but you know, it's going to be a really good program. It's evolving. And ultimately my hope for it is, Jeremy, is that becomes my on tap class, right? That becomes my hour-long, quick, easy lecture. Lots of cool stuff, lots of good fire footage, lots of fire pictures, but yeah, that's all part of the conference next weekend. And then we have Chief or Lieutenant Mike Daly from.
Oh, you're skipping my class.
Oh, I forgot about this.
What are you doing? You forget my class, dude? Come on.
Oh, I forgot.
All
John,
right, so
did you make the cut? Did you make the cut, John?
All right, I'm hanging up right now. I'm done.
Wow.
Just keep it.
So you know what? I'm actually Jeremy and Ryan saw parts of my class, the not so forcible entry class. I'm following you on Thursday, being the last class of the day. We're going to do the not so forcible entry. We're going to do the PowerPoint, Friday. And then we're doing videos on lock recognition and going through the lock with doorknobs, deadbolts, and a couple auxiliary type locks. We're doing that. And then we're going to do a panel discussion where everything's live. Truthfully, we're going to be using the Zoom session so people can call in and do a panel discussion that night at 7:00. So for $10, you're going to get 3 classes and a panel discussion on Friday. Then come Saturday morning, we've got Mike Daly opening up at 10:00 in the morning Eastern time. doing his fire behavior size up. Then after that, we've got Chief Andy Starnes doing his thermal imaging. Sean, what's the name of his class? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank right now.
It's tactical thermal imaging.
So he's gonna talk about thermal imaging
awesome,
and how to use it with enhanced water streams, and stream placement and all that other good stuff. Andy's probably the number one dude in the country for thermography.
So I
to
listened to your
intelligently
podcast with him.
aggressive fire attack is what his
Hold on.
class is.
He actually listen. Jeremy listened to Andy's podcast with us.
Dude, he's unbelievable.
Oh my God! I got done with what? I'm getting dirty looks over here.
From who?
So loud. My daughter. She's like, "You're so loud." I'm like, "Yeah, well, you know."
Well, I'm a fireman. What do you expect?
Wait
You
till
want to come over and say hello?
one more beer.
Sean's daughter was making cookies. Why are you making cookies?
Why aren't you making cookies?
What? Oh, we don't have, it's my fault. We don't have cookie dough. All right.
Well,
All right, goodbye.
From scratch.
sugar?
She's making them from scratch.
It will work. Thank you.
I found it on
You're the best. Thank you, darling. And it's like summer vacation here, but they're doing school from 8 to 12 every day.
Yeah.
I hear you. Same here.
But it's wild, man. What a weird setup. Anyway, back to what you're talking about. What's his name?
So Andy Starnes is doing
Yes.
intelligently aggressive fire attack he's a battalion in a Southern Metro Fire Department.
Oh yeah, we're not allowed to say.
I sat in my truck and listened to that. So Sean, you mentioned that before, like, oh, you get to the firehouse and you sit in your truck for an extra like 20 minutes. I did that with that interview. And I was really impressed. Super smart, man. Like things, some of the things he said, I just sat there and I was like, never thought of that. Didn't know that. Like, just
dude, gangster grip time.
And you talk about somebody with a giving heart. Seriously,
down
like, not
to
to
earth.
get all hokey, but Jeremy, you reach out to Chief Starnes tomorrow. You're like, hey, Chief, we just got the
XYZ
Toyota Jones Model 6 thermal imaging camera. He's like, all right, bro, I got a whole Dropbox full of info. What's your email? I'll send it to you. Like,
that's wild.
He's unbelievable.
He is phenomenal.
Listen, kitchen table is May 3rd and 4th.
May 3rd and 4th. And let me give you the last one.
April 3rd and 4th.
April 3rd and 4th.
Excuse me.
And we're going to we finish it up with Chief Steve Prisbrowski. He's our West Coast dude, our left coast guy. And he's going to be teaching courage under fire leadership.
Okay. So this is Friday, Saturday, right?
Correct. Yep. 3rd and 4th.
And it's $10 for the day?
Each day is $10.
Right.
All for charity.
So where I'm going with this is very simply this, right? I mean, you're looking at how many guys are sitting around the table at the firehouse. Companies aren't getting out and training these days. We're not allowed out, right? Especially where we are. I mean, we're not allowed to put the engine out on the street or the truck out in the street and go walk buildings or stretch lines, throw ladders. We just can't do it right now. For $10, man, add that to the meal kitty, and you can have this streaming in your firehouse. 3 lectures a day?
You're getting 3 lectures a day, and Friday night is going to be the
by nationally recognized guys that teach on the circuit, right? Like, for $10, you split
for
that
$10 one day, $10 the next.
And the best thing is
$20. And guess what? The best part,
Yeah,
we're going to split the donations to the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation and the Firefighters Cancer Support Network.
So you gotta get me the info on
charity.
this. Get me the cover on this. Get me whatever you have. We'll blast this thing out for you guys. I mean, that's fantastic.
Please and thank you.
We'll get behind that 100%.
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you tonight when we get done here. But yeah, it's a great idea, and it was spurred from the guys are jonesing. Like, you know, John says a lot that getting on here and doing this is cathartic. You know, and this way, hey, it's like, you know, for me, I said what you said, Jeremy. Like, I was in a rut, man. Like,
I am
Ryan's
right now.
talking. Ryan's talking to me about he's going to start writing another book, and I'm like, dude, I've been sitting on my couch when I'm not at work. Like, seriously, like,
Sean,
I got no reason.
I am totally not myself right now.
Right.
I'm really in a rut. I was talking to Rob the other day, and I told him, I said, Rob, man, I don't get like this. I get like this maybe once a year, twice a year, where it's like 1 or 2 weeks. You don't see us posting a lot. I'm totally just like sitting back, regrouping, just like trying to, I don't know, man. And I'll tell you, I'm there right now. And I know if I'm there, a lot of people are because I'm a real optimistic type of guy, and I'm outgoing and easygoing, and this sucks right now, dude.
Yeah,
This
that's
sucks.
what my wife said. My wife's pretty busy, so she works for a hockey team, and the season's been postponed, and events are getting postponed. So she's
play off hockey. What the hell, Sean?
Hey,
right. I think we're going right to the playoffs, bro. Like I think they're just gonna give the cup to the Sabres. That's my opinion.
no,
Let's not get carried away.
stop.
Carried away.
You know who doesn't want? No, I'm just kidding. But we're sitting at dinner time. My son cooked dinner for us. Our 20-year-old, he made a nice salmon and some fried rice, and she's like, "Man, I'm in a funk." She's like, "I don't know if I just don't feel good or if I'm just like depressed." And I'm like, "Well, this was different and new for a week, and now we're over it. Now we're like."
Now we're in
she's
it.
like, at least I get to leave. Well, I get to leave to go to work, which usually is fun, but now it's not so fun because of all what we're dealing with. Like going to the firehouse and throwing ladders and stretching lines, and you get to go to a fire or two today. Sweet. Now it's like, man,
and the camaraderie that comes with all that.
Absolutely.
And take all that away, the camaraderie starts to disappear. I mean, even if you're riding the chair all day, or if you're doing an hour around the kitchen table and then chores and TV and disinfecting twice a day. It's not the same, man. Guys
are disappearing. Guys are keeping distance.
And guys are they're scattering. Nobody wants to be around each other unless we're on runs, and even those runs are adding to the stress.
But I'll tell you this, though, man. I think also this is a good way for a big freaking cop-out. I think it allows us to separate. I think this whole social distancing thing, I hate it. I hate that I can't shake a guy's hand.
No, I know.
I can't embrace a brother, or have a conversation and have a good laugh and slap him on the back, right?
Drives me.
I'm having a hard time with it, but I also think though that this is convenient for the people that are forced into socializing, right? I mean, more and more we're becoming an introverted society, man. More and more the guys in the firehouse, the younger generation, they're a little more introverted. They're a little more to themselves on their phone and their books and their this and that. And so this just promotes that, and it fucking, excuse my language, man, but it drives me nuts that I don't want this, and I hit on this before, I don't want this to be the crutch of the fire service, that all of a sudden this is acceptable. It's not acceptable.
That's what I keep hearing.
It can't work this way.
No, I keep hearing the new norm. Fuck that. BS.
Fuck, that is right. No way.
BS. And,
but I think it takes guys like us that really have to stem that. Sean, in your company, and John, in your house, man. We need to be sure that our guys understand that this is a temporary thing. And as soon as that green light comes back, we're jumping on it, and we're going to work twice as hard to get that camaraderie and pride back in the house.
I'm one of the biggest guys for stopping and walking through a building that's under construction or a target hazard with my crew, just to get out there. I miss the interaction with our citizens, and I love going shopping with my crew. I got 3 guys that like to cook, myself included, and I like saying hi to the little old ladies in ShopRite, and the grocer or the butcher that's doing an awesome job.
Are you kidding me? It's like a game. I love engaging these people, man. I
miss that. And you know what? For me, it's funny because the other lieutenant, both lieutenants in my house, by 11 o'clock, we're like, "Yo, what's for dinner?" We got to figure that out, and we got to have that in play before we even have lunch, so we know who we're sending out. Unfortunately, now it's who we send out to buy, and you're like, "Don't fuck this up," right? I know we're family friendly. Don't fuck up this. You got to get this, this, and this. When I cook, I love going to the store because I know what I want to buy. I don't want this. I want that. I'm very particular with my meals and the ingredients.
It makes me – it's actually comical to me that you can send a guy. So one of the rigs runs short while this guy's out shopping, or how's that work?
So right now, we've canceled all vacations.
I got to pick them up on the way.
So right now, we've actually got a 4th guy is able to go. We give him a gig, a spare vehicle. We got a Suburban that used to be a Chiefs gig. It's the backup Chiefs gig. He'll shoot to the store. He'll buy and he'll come back. That's because we can't send a full company to the store anymore.
We don't have any of those, thank goodness. But like, we do have, like I said, we've been doing a lot
What
of
are you laughing at, Jeremy?
trying to support,
Just the way you said it.
trying to support the local restaurants. So yesterday, like last night, we ordered in. We got some pizza, wings, and
Tired of ordering out. I can't do that.
nah, but you know what I mean. It's one of those things, like, just to support the local.
No,
The local restaurants that are struggling. Like we have a guy that's very near and dear to us. It's got a catering shop, and listen, man, like in Buffalo, they lost St. Patrick's Day weekend. That's the
Huge.
year for a lot of these places, and same with the city. I'm sure by you guys, but it's the year for most of these restaurants, bars, places, and they lost that. And so like tomorrow we're probably gonna do fish from this caterer. The guy's a great dude, and he takes care of the firefighters. And I text him today. I'm like, hey, bro, like I'm thinking probably gonna get 8 fish fries from you. I'm like, the only caveat is, dude, you're gonna have to deliver them because his business is in another town, in a village outside of the city. We can't go get it. But he's like, yeah, I'll take care of you. I'm like, dude, no, just like charge us what you're gonna charge us. So, like, I know it's gonna be good, and we've but when we go, we can't go shopping before. So this new thing, like I was telling you earlier, they want us not wearing our gear in the supermarkets. I'm like, well, like I'm a big dude, and my front seat of my truck is like that big, and it just physics don't work that way, bro. Like I'm not, I'm not Gumby. I'm not gonna be able to get that gear on. So
I'm glad he didn't just slam me and call me small.
Well,
well,
I mean,
you took the words out of my mouth, Bob. But like Jeremy and I understand,
I get it.
You start pulling things, you can't put them back. Trying to get
no.
But I like, but we can't. And they're like, well, can you go before work? And I'm like, no, because most stores now are doing like senior citizen hour from 7 to 8. So
right.
Which is great. Like, hey, like I understand people like that generation. They're scared, and that's fine. So have their time, but I can't shop. And I like to shop in the neighborhood I work. My firehouse is 10 miles from my house, and
right.
So, but it is what it
now,
is.
I hear you about local, but one of the things, like, you got a decent size, you got a small size house, you got 2 companies. I got 3 companies. I got a battalion and a chief's aide. So when we try and buy, we buy so we can have pretty much lunch the next day. Or it's all you can eat. And we got some guys that have been stepping up lately. We had stuffed pork loin the other day. We had lasagna the other day. We had Spanish lasagna. It was an Italian lasagna, but made by one of the Spanish guys. He's phenomenal. Eddie cooked phenomenal.
No noodles, all tortilla.
No. It was all noodles. It was great.
John, look at who you're talking to, bro.
I know.
Like,
I got the paisan.
You hear my stomach grumbling. No, you hear my stomach grumbling through the mic.
Skinny guys telling us about
But we got enough.
Right, exactly.
We got enough food for at least a couple
up.
companies, at least a company or 2 for lunch. And that was one. Whenever I bought for dinner, I made sure we had enough extra for at least maybe a couple guys to have lunch the next day. And it's great to support local, Sean. You're absolutely right. And once everything is back on its feet, but maybe I'm the germaphobe. I want to limit the amount of people that have touched on my food.
Yeah, but listen, like I'm a big picture guy. Picture guy. Everything about the fire service, right? Yeah, it's great. We can order out, but then that eliminates the kitchen time. We can cook. We can send one guy out, but that eliminates our time together in the store, which is usually comedy time, where guys are, you grab the new kid and you introduce them to the old lady behind the counter, and like you have a great rapport, and like I love that stuff because you're taking the situation and educating the young kid, the old guy, and everybody in between that it's okay to have fun and enjoy your time and engage the public and enjoy the brotherhood and the camaraderie. We're going to lose all that. We're going to lose that store time. We're going to lose the kitchen time. We're going to lose the eating time. We're going to lose all of that. And that's my concern with this whole thing is I know we're looking at our safety. We talked about it when we first started, John, about insurance and all that stuff too. Like, I get that. But I'm looking at the big picture of this and saying, we have to be very careful that the decisions we're making now don't become the norm of what the fire service is going to become We have to say that this is temporary, and we need to get back to the traditional ways of how we operate and how we've always done it.
Right.
Because the camaraderie and the brotherhood, once that's gone, right? People bitch that it's gone now. People complain that it's gone. It's out the window. There's some companies that, guys can't even sit in the same room with each other, right? There's other departments that just, they don't train. The culture's terrible. There's no tradition. There's no this, there's no that. We can't allow the companies that people look up to fall apart from this also. In a department like where you are, Sean.
Drop the mic.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
You're an old department.
Yeah.
You're an old department steeped in tradition with probably black and white pictures on the walls. And
hard,
you know
man.
what? Those guys wearing fireball gloves 40 years ago would have a heart attack if they weren't allowed to go shop, or if they weren't allowed to cook, or they weren't allowed to have camaraderie.
I tell you,
lose track of that.
That's my biggest struggle is the logbook, the journal.
Yeah.
It's
it's cool. You still do
the
them?
company. Oh God, yeah. And we
like
don't
handwritten, or is it?
No, handwritten. Yeah, handwritten. And
awesome. I love that.
And the guy's like, Kev, why you do that? You can just look the runs up on a computer. I go, yeah, but guess what? In 40 years, my grandkid can't look up grandpa's runs from. We in the attic of the firehouse. We have all the books from back. Like Truck 7 was formed in 1893. Now I don't think we have any going back that far, but and it's just so cool.
The
you look back.
big journals, right, Sean?
Yeah,
we've got that too. Our house journals and our company journals.
Yep.
You just made my day. Like I like, no joke. That's what I hope to hear. Because do you know how many people don't have that or have never even seen that?
Most.
So Jeremy, what I'm gonna tell you right now, we're making our rookies do a rookie book. So I told our rookie, we got a new kid, you write every run you go on for your first year, and you keep that book around. So they've got like a marble notebook. Yeah. So you write every run you go on and what you learned that day. And I pull his book. I look at it. That book comes to work with, I told him, book comes to work with you every day. I want to see it.
John, I was in Texas a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about affordable drill towers. We were down there for a long weekend with a bunch of guys, and department had a couple guys there, and they all had journals, and they would sit there, and after they took a lecture, after they were outside, they'd go over, they'd kneel, take a knee, and they would write in their journal. And so we struck up a conversation, and I said, what is this? And it's my probate journal for my first year. We've been instructed to document our first year. So he's like, and now it's a part of them. And so the stories that are going to come from that and the experiences they've had and the experiences they will have up until their first year on the line all goes in that journal. I mean, that is an invaluable piece of firematic history and tradition and culture and firematics and you name it, man. Like that is so
my book was a little booklet of 20 years ago of just writing stuff down.
Yeah.
And it's 20 some years old now and it's falling apart. I still have pages of it and it's cool, but now that we made them do the black and white booklets.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's going to help them either as senior firefighters, because they're going to grow to be senior firefighters one day, or officers. Yep. And they're able to go back and look at what they did that first year and figure out what was impressive. Sean, you got that. What are you showing me up? Come on.
I'm just saying, this is mine that I keep today with 22 years on as a captain.
It's mine.
My journal, my little notebook.
Come on. I got to go run in the other room and get mine.
What do you got to show us over there, bro? Some Captain Morgan? Lush?
Skinny guy. He's probably got a recipe book.
Yeah. That Diet Coke.
No Diet Coke. It's real Coke. And it's it's real Captain.
This for me.
This is legit.
This I carried it
all right. I'll be back. Give me 30 seconds.
It's okay, bro.
I'll tell you, I was never one for anything like this. And then probably about 6 months ago, my brain is always going. And with National Fire Radio, I have all these ideas, and it's how do you capitalize on these ideas? And then I move. My wife calls me an 80%er. I do something 80%, I get bored with it, and I start something new. And I never finish the 20%, for completion. So in order to do that, I've kept this journal probably for about 6 months now, man. I make notes in it all the time, and flipping back on it, it's awesome. And I can't wait to look at it 10 years from now. With the
that's exactly it. I have a little a smaller one I keep like in my pants of my my duty pants at work.
Sure.
And then I transfer the stuff to that. But that I stole that idea from Ryan from Pennington. He's like, dude, at the end of every day you gotta do the brain dump. Everything in your brain just regurgitate it out on paper, because tomorrow you're gonna have a whole new thing worth of stuff you need to dump out of your brain. And
the stuff,
I wish I used it better, truthfully, but
it's cool. Oh, he's back.
Oh, here's the ham and egger.
Yeah. What do you got?
So,
you got more?
It's in my locker.
Would you grab your kid's notebook from the?
No, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's in my locker at work.
That looks like Common Core math on that.
That looks like fourth grade arithmetic. What is
Come on, no playing me out.
X equals 1 plus 6.
It's actually in my locker, in my different fold thing that I've got. But no, I've got it, and it's important because you start looking back at the runs you had and the guys you were with. The history is huge. My first captain, I got lucky. I had a really senior captain who was cool as anything. He was chill. Nothing flustered this guy. And it was just cool that I had this. And then I started adding recipes into like, hey, this is what I buy. Or, hey, how do you cook this? Just Jeremy, going back to what you were saying, I learned how to cook from 3 or 4 guys in the firehouse.
Right.
My mom, it's funny, like, I'm going to go from cooking to writing and writing for major magazines. My mom, who's an English teacher, she's like, I can't believe you ever got published.
Nice. Thanks,
I'm like, I love you, Mom.
Yeah,
but
you're a sweetheart.
I hated to write as a kid,
I still do, but I write well.
And I've gotten better.
Yeah.
But, and going back to my rookie book, the writing of the directions or instructions about what ingredients and how to cook these things has turned like I love my spaghetti sauce. I like it more than my mom's. It's my sauce. But I grew up on my mom's sauce. My mom's Italian. I don't look Italian, but my mom's Italian.
I didn't want to poke. I didn't want to poke.
Did you say you look like a tennis ball?
I do look like a tennis ball too. Fuck you.
Wow. This is getting tough here. Tough crowd.
It is a tough crowd, but we all love each other.
I think though the thing with the journal that I like the most about it is I've had a couple of people ask me, what is that? And I'm like, oh, it's a journal. What like a big guy like myself who's outspoken and very charismatic and out there, and they go, you have a journal? And I go, yeah. It's not like a diary. It's an idea book. It's a book of situations and ideas and remembrance, if you will. And I have found in the last like 6 months, maybe 10 months, maybe almost a year now I've had this book, but I don't think so. It's probably been about 6 months, but the value that it brings me is like what John, when you stepped away, Sean and I were talking about it real quick and he hit on it. It's that dump. It's that at the end of the day, you take your thoughts and ideas and you're able to just jot them down because you're going to forget them and you're going to move on and the next day is coming. And there's a lot of value in what we learn. And, the big lessons we learn and we take them with us, but the small little pieces of nuggets, those little nuggets that we learn every single day, you're not going to remember them all. And so to be able to jot them down, to go back to them at a later date and time, or just for a good laugh or a smile or a smirk 6 years from now, when I thumb through this thing and I go, holy shit, I remember I talked to John and, Sean that night and it was the coronavirus and like just being able to refer back to that. So I love when the younger guys look at the more senior guys and go, what is that? And you educate them and not be afraid to. Some guys wouldn't be caught dead writing in a journal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because they wouldn't know what to write. But
the biggest thing is, dude, it's the story.
I pick things up, I put them down.
Yeah, it's okay to love your job, bro. Like,
I agree.
It's cool. Like, it's good.
Now, it's cool that I get the rookie, and we do our drill for the house, and then I'll grab him, and I'm like, hey, come on out. We'll do things that I love to do. I'm like, all right, we're gonna do lifting and hauling, and Sean's a rescue guru, and I don't even hold a candle to what he does. But like, I teach him how to change a belay into a simple lift, a 2-to-1 to a belay, and then I teach him a haul system. So it keeps me sharp and him sharp. And I don't request anybody else from the house coming out there, but by the time we're done, I've got 3/4 of the house out there hanging out with us, throwing in their 2 tidbits or their 2 cents on how to do it a little bit different or make it better. And
because it's infectious.
That fills my, I'm going to use my wife's term, that fills my cup up. It, that fills me. That
you watching you? You're just like,
she just opened the door. I don't know. It was odd. I just threw her a bone, dude. I'm gonna give her a hug.
John, you've been on too long with your friends. It's time for you.
No, but it fills my cup. It makes me feel good that these guys these guys enjoy what we do. And you're absolutely right. It's infectious. Because once you start with a couple guys, everybody else in the house wants to see what's going on. Dude, we're all kids. We want to know what's happening. We want to be included. Nobody wants to be included in the firehouse.
That's
right.
That's
and I will. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Your show.
You got a gift.
All I was going to say is if anybody's listening and you're the guy that goes out and does some training or hands-on with somebody else in your company, and other people don't gather around, it's typically because of the way you're teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that needs to be said. I think that when you're infectious and you create an environment where people want to surround themselves with it, guys will sit in the chairs and sit on the couches or sit at the bar, right? And, they don't want to do anything. But then you get the right guy that starts to show somebody something. And next thing you know, 1 guy comes over and 2 guys come over and then 6 guys come over. They would rather be informed and be a part of something that is positive than not. So if you have a group of guys that don't want to get into it, they're not into it because maybe it's your message and how you're going about it. When we go into firehouses, right, I knock on a door, we walk in, people are very typically the senior guys. I'm talking to crusty guys, and I'm sure, Sean, where you are, there's a lot of older guys that just, they do their thing. I've been here for 30 years, don't care, like whatever. When I go into firehouses like that and I start talking about what we do, I find that they're very standoffish. And within a half hour into the conversation, they're being a part of the conversation. They find their way there. It's infectious. You have to, there's a certain way, there's a certain aura that you have to build in order to entice everybody to want to be there. Anybody can grab the probie, take them outside and show them something, but are you showing them, or are you teaching them, or are you trying to better him? Right.
Yeah. And it comes from empowering him. That's right. I have a probie Brant right now. He went through our academy 3 years ago, but he worked for a local village. A lot of local outlying career departments send their guys to our academy just because it's easy. So he went through our academy in 2016, and then he took the test and he got hired by our job, and so he just transferred over. But so they did like an in-doc, right? They put him through the academy for like a month to get him used to the way Buffalo works. So now he's on my crew. He's a good kid. He's really smart, and the beauty of the way I empower my guys is I'm like, look, we got to take him out. We owe it to him. Here's what we're gonna do. And like we went the other day, we found a house. I'm like, look, I want to work at different types of ladder raises. We're not opening the roof today. We're just gonna throw some ladders. I want to work on your flat raise, your beam raise, your alley raise, or parallel raise, whatever you call it, whatever term your department uses, we're going to use it, right? And I said, here's the 3, and I'm like, all right, go. And then I stood there while my senior guy ran the drill, and I chimed in, and they did it. And then I'm like, grab it. We use the 35 a lot, but by our district because just some big damn houses. And I'm like, so now 35, generally it's a 3-person raise. I mean, we have the luxury of having dudes. Like we got a lot of bodies. So, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, Jesus, I just ran a nice, awesome, hour and a half drill. And I said 4 words. It was sweet. And most of the words I said were good job.
But it's an environment that's infectious.
Yeah. And it happened again.
It's an environment where people are comfortable to say they don't know, or they're comfortable to lend an ear and listen because they may not be sure. They haven't thrown a 2-section 35 in a while, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
And that's where the same thing happened the other day. Now same thing. I got this guy, and I like to do some different kind of. We're the fast team a lot, just based on the way our geography is in the city. We go to a lot of fires. A lot of times we're the fast team. We have a huge district. So
Right.
I'm working with the rookie again. I'm like, hey, listen, like most of the time, if you read the studies, you look at the numbers, like, it's like 15% of the time, the fast team or the RIT team, whatever you call it, it's actually making the rescue or doing the work. Most of the time it's companies in the area, right? Like if
Sure.
one of you fellas go down and I'm 4 feet away from you, I'm going to get you. That's just the way
course.
nature of the. So, but I said, but once in a great while, we have these major, my crew, especially last year was a tough year for us in 2019. And, we had a bunch of different rescues, grabs. We were fast team for a couple where our guys got jammed up. And so I'm talking to them about, like, we have our Stokes litter. We throw all our gear in it. We bring a mega mover, which is basically like a tarp with handles, and 200-foot search rope are our main thing. So I'm like, well, look, so say we got a guy down in the basement, it's going to be a longer operation. We don't have bridles. So I'm teaching these guys how to tie up a Stokes litter using just a rope. So you do a bowline bridle with this thing, and these guys don't learn to bowline anymore. When I went through the academy, that knot was failing people.
That was the knot.
That
there's
was
people
the
that
New Jersey State Police knot.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
people
remember
that
that?
aren't on the fire service
I
now
do,
because
I
they couldn't tie a
absolutely
damn bowline. And so I teach this bridle bowline, and I'm like, look, here's what we do. The guys in the basement, we throw a ladder up, we use a rung as a high point, create a little 2-to-1, tie the bowline, get the guy in there, boom, they're out. It's the same difference as using the. But my point is, I guess, is that I'm talking about it, and it was just me and him at first. I do this by myself some days because every couple months I tie it just because, just to keep my.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like now there's like 4 guys there, and now there's 6, and now there's 7, and now there's 8. And I'm like, I go, listen, guys, this was an unofficial drill. Like, we're still going out and doing a drill. I was just messing around here. And they're like, yeah, it's great, Cap. And then like, oh, can I try it? I never learned a bowline. Can I try it? Because these new guys, they don't teach it anymore. Everything got replaced by the figure of 8.
We can't lose, though. You know what the fire service can't afford to lose? Is guys like you. Guys like me. Guys like John. And I'll tell you why. It's not us. It's what we represent.
Right.
We have the ability. I talked about this before. Taking away the grocery shopping or taking away going for coffee after that run with the guys. It's that hijinks that ensues in the store, and typically it's the senior guy or one of the more senior guys that facilitates the conversation and the laughter and the jokes and this and that.
Inappropriate object in the cart or whatever. Right?
We can't. Yeah, absolutely. We can't lose those guys because we
don't eat squash.
Right.
What is that? I don't know what that is. What is that?
The inappropriate thing in the cart.
Oh, yeah.
That's not what I had in mind, but
Jesus, Sean, what the fuck? Come on.
National Fire Radio has a lot of female listeners, so I was just trying to do the right thing.
What, like actual female list? All right, let's move on.
So, 1 or 2, 3 or 4.
My thing is this: we cannot afford to lose the guys that are the backbone and the guys that take the initiative to instill the values and the lessons and the training and all of that. And we are losing them, and we're losing them at a very fast pace. So we need to be very careful of that. And to bring it back around to that the Corona thing right now, we're eliminating a lot of this conversation in the firehouse. And we can't. Mm-hmm. We cannot afford to lose these conversations. Cannot.
No, you're so right. You're so right. And that's why your platform is so big, because it's a virtual conversation, obviously, but it's there, and we have some young guys that are stepping up and want to learn and want to be. They're collecting the patches and they're doing, they're going to the trainings and they're doing all that stuff. But for every one of them, there's 10 that don't care. And that's the trouble. You're right. Those are the guys we're after,
So you got to reach them. And you know what? I try and talk with my rookies all about it. This guy was aces. He came on he was our first fire department intern as a high school senior. He came in and interned with us, and we were lucky enough to get him. So I try and talk to him to reach out to his fire class. I'm like, listen, you got to get out to classes. You got to get out to these trainings, get out to anything that's offered to you. So you can see what's bigger than the fire service in these 3.2 square miles that we have. So, Jeremy, we talked about this last time when we recorded. It's so important to see the bigger picture of the fire service. And again, Sean has passion, you have passion, I have passion. And nothing makes me happier when it's a 1 to 2 person drill, and by the end of it, we've got 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 people watching and contributing. That's huge. That makes my day.
Of course. I agree.
So,
what do you think? We've been talking for
about 90
minutes here, bro.
We're
Is that
getting
a
close.
lot of time to go? Like, we're out of here, wrap it up?
I don't know. I'm out of booze. I know that.
I'm 3 beers.
It's all good. Sean, you working tomorrow?
Yes, so I got to stop anyway. I mean, I got to stop with this. We can talk all night.
No, I'm back. I'm
No,
back in
on
tomorrow.
shift tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow's a new. So we gotta figure. That's the crazy part. What new is going to come down? How are we going to change responses, or how are we going to handle the house? I know we got some stuff happening at work, and I'm not at liberty to talk, but things are going to be new tomorrow.
So John, I think in your position, right, and Sean, as department officers, right, company officers, and I know, John, I think at times you're the acting too, aren't you?
Every once in a while I do, yes.
Right. So this greatly affects you guys more than, the guy in the back seat, right?
Right.
I mean, there's,
Yep.
You guys have that added level of stress. Now, Sean, you talked about like, hey, we weren't busy yesterday. However, I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I think that's a conversation too that needs to be had. And I think you guys should go after that conversation maybe in your next show, because I don't want to be a part of it. But I'll tell you this. No. I think what's interesting though is, hitting, and this goes back to the whole different ice cream store flavors. Like, you guys can speak specifically to the company officer or chiefs and the higher ups, right? Then there's also the rank and file too. The guy riding the nozzle man in the back seat, he's like, whatever. They just tell me what I got to do. If today I got to wear a mask, tomorrow I got to wear this, I got to do this.
Yeah.
They don't care. You guys burden a lot of that stress, right? Because not only do you have the authority or the responsibility for the other guys, it's not even just the responsibility. It's also performing in your role with new imposed rules that just rolled off the press 4 hours before you walk through the door.
And that's it. And they're not all popular. And that's exactly what it is. And and the guys are like,
some of them don't even make sense.
No, and a lot don't make it, but they're doing the best they can do.
That's right.
And that's exactly it. It's like
they're doing best practices that have worked in the last 2 weeks.
I don't always like what I'm passing down to you, but that's my job. And these guys.
My job is to keep you as safe as possible.
Well, and I owe it. And I said that we had this talk yesterday with the guys, and I said, I was pretty frustrated about something else that I can't talk about. I can talk to you guys offline, but I can't talk about here. And I'm like, I go, look, here's a situation. I said, you guys, the short time I've been working with you guys, I've grown to love you. I've grown to care immensely about you, and I owe it to you. And I lose sleep at night wondering if I'm laying the groundwork to set you guys up for success every time we pull out that door. And I said, it's super easy to go like, Invisible Man's on today. Let's go watch it. Well, I'm upstairs and I'm reading Chief Starn stuff, or I'm watching your stuff, or I'm listening to John and I are talking, and I'm like, okay, so for the next call, here I am. But like, the problem I have is this, like, we're seriously, like, tomorrow I'm going to go to work and I'm going to be like, I might have lost 2 more guys that think they might have symptoms. So basically the department now says, if you're asymptomatic, you better show up, period. We got a couple houses that have guys that are confirmed. And so people are freaking out, and rightfully so. People are scared, and
you're behind the curve where you're like a week behind us.
And I'll tell you right now, we got some things coming down the line. We got some house cleanings coming up, and it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when.
Right. But I also think it's important too, John, that it's just as bosses and leaders and somewhat of authority that we have to be able to roll with it too, and we can't always put it back off on the guys and showing the stress levels that we're getting from the top coming down. We have to be able to filter that. And that's part of the stress that we deal with is being able to say, like, trying to how to filter that to get to the end user.
Nope, you're absolutely right. We got to lead from the front and push from the rear.
That's right.
When we have to.
Yeah.
And it's our job, whether I don't want to say whether it's because we get that pay or because we get the position or whatever else, but we got to lead by example. We got to do the right thing because we're there for that. We're there for them. I'm going to steal that line from Chief Isaacson, and we're there for our own members.
Yeah.
Which is important too. So I've already texted my guys, my house, my officers, and put out some information that I got just to keep them informed because nobody likes surprises. So even it's a trickle down thing and a trickle up thing. You just listen to Jocko, any of his books. Everybody wants to be informed, whether it's up or down the chain. And you put that information out there and you let those guys know what's going on because no one wants to be surprised when they walk up at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7:55 or at 7 o'clock and they can't do X, Y, or Z, which they normally do.
That's right. That's it. That's it.
So take care of your people like they're your family because you know what? They are. They're my family. I watch out for them like I do my kids and my wife. Yeah.
I agree. And now more than ever,
Absolutely.
It's a bigger job. And so, there's a lot going on and everything's changing by the day, as we just said. So here we are.
So Sean, what's the phrase?
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
I don't know. I don't know what phrase.
Wash your hands.
Sleep.
I got a million phrases.
Are you kidding me?
I got a million phrases. I lost you guys. Hold on.
You said wash your hands. Come on.
Wash my hands. Yeah.
Wash your hands. Wash your hands. Everybody stay safe.
Have anything to get that stink off my phone?
Yeah. I think lemon juice and gasoline.
The only thing I want to know out of this whole hour and 40 minutes we've been talking, Sean, over your shoulder is a pair of handcuffs hanging from the ceiling.
Those are lights.
That's
those are lights. Where's your mind, Jeremy?
My mind's filthy, man. Like I know what my red room looks like. I didn't know what your red room looked like. So
yeah,
I apologize.
Listen, bro.
Crap, that looked like a pair of handcuffs over your shoulder. That's it. The whole freaking time I was sitting here. That one on
his big head was blocking the other one.
Right straight back there. Those are my.
No, the lights, the track lighting.
Dude, I remember
track light. The light. Sean, you'll see the video of this.
I can see it, bro. I can see it right behind my head.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing?
Those are lights. Like, yeah.
Now
this is my Engine 21 blanket.
Put your head back to where it was. No, the other right there. It looks like a pair of handcuffs hanging from the ceiling.
Some freaky shit going on here, bro.
I tell you, man. It's cold winters.
No alcohol and no freaky shit.
Yeah.
On that note.
Hey, it's Thin Red Line Radio signing off, and Jeremy, go ahead, do yours.
Fellas, thank you, man. What a fantastic opportunity tonight. I'm glad that we got together. I'm sorry it went longer than probably you usually go, but I like to talk a lot. But I think tonight was fantastic, and it's overdue. Congratulations on the success of Thin Red Line Radio. You guys are doing some great stuff. Good luck with your Firehouse Kitchen Table Conference, May 3rd and 4th. We're going to promote that. I saw you guys already shot the stuff over to me. I saw while we were sitting here. We'll get that up for you. Proud to support that. The fact that it's going to, some good causes and, for $10 a day for these guys. I mean, come on, man, it's a no-brainer. I mean, everybody should be dialed in on this. So we'll certainly promote that and get that out there for you. But I just want to say thank you, man. Whether it's your show, my show, it doesn't matter. The three of us are sitting here, and for Rob, Rob's working tonight. He couldn't get on, and Tucker and Sebi and so on. But, all the guys in National Fire Radio, it's the same. Seabass. Kick his ass, Seabass. Ultimately, it's all about making this job a little bit better.
No, absolutely.
And you guys do great stuff, and I'm very happy to call you friends, and I'm looking forward to doing a lot more with you guys. Sean, we'll get you in on that on tap.
Next time in studio.
Once we're allowed to.
Why only Sean? Come on. Really?
Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, John, how are you?
Oh, hey.
Because
I'm part of
because
this?
if we were up there together, I'd look
course
like
you
I
are.
hate you.
Sean and I have talked about this before, but John,
Mini me? What?
Listen, you're through the lock stuff, and I talked to you about this already, and we
Oh,
got to
I
do
know.
this.
Awesome.
But you have some incredible stuff that I
Thank
think needs to be shared, and I'd love to be able to help you with that. So
I appreciate
sky's
it.
the
Thank
limit,
you.
man. Sky's the limit. But thank you. And Thin Red Line Radio, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing the interviews. I've learned a bunch of shit from you guys, and I'm proud to call you friends and mentors. And there's a lot more to come. So thanks for having me on your show, and thanks for being on my show, and for Jeremy and the rest of National Fire Radio with the guys from Thin Red Line Radio. National
Stay
Fire
safe.
Radio. Take care.
All good.